Well, guys, as soon as I can get this background out of here, we'll be starting up. There we go. I finally figured it out. I'm like at a loss for words. My understanding of this game is completely different than, let's say, yours. I'm going to need you to explain to me how this game went, how you saw it. To me, it was like a tale of two halves. But when I say that, what I mean is my experience of this was through radio. So for me, what this sounded like was that Roma were unorganized, unlucky. Berardi has a deflected shot, which becomes an assist. Back to the unorganized. The defense didn't look good. But then in the second half, there's a red card. And then Roma gets the penalty. Dybala converts. Christensen scores at the end. And then the referee gives an insane amount of extra time. So if that's correct, if that's the reality, I need you to confirm, because this is quite ridiculous. Like another remontada, another Roma comeback, and I'm happy about it. But there's also so many factors here. I'm like, why is Roma in this chaos? Why can't it be a little bit simpler? And I was reading a tweet before I came on. I'm going to look for it from my buddy Marco, who said, I'll bring it up and then I'll show you, because I was having a laugh about it. But guys, I'm Wayne Gerard. We're going to be chatting Sassuolo Roma, taking a look at the rest of Serie A scorelines today, as well as what's going on with Inter versus Napoli as they get ready to have their match, which I think is going to be one of the best that we've seen in Serie A in quite a long time. I'm also looking right now at a video of Lauriente, who tried to go shoulder to shoulder with Mancini and then just got absolutely bodied. You can see that on Mourinho Pics on Twitter. I can't show it due to copyright, but that's magic. I love that. So I'm just going to read some of these comments. No, I'm not going to read comments yet. I'm going to take you to Marco's post because I got a kick out of this one. I'm going to take this. We're going to share the screen. But guys, keep those comments coming in. Let me know what you think about Roma right now. I think I started a little bit of a controversy earlier this morning on Twitter by saying that after Mourinho leaves, if he doesn't sign a new contract, that I think that Vincenzo Italiano would be a good manager to take over. People are like, no, Mourinho can't leave this. I'm just saying, like, yo, if Mourinho does leave, if he gets a massive offer of $50 million euros from Saudi Arabia, like, he's out. Any rational person would be out. So I'm throwing that around. There's like a lot of feelings that Roma do have the players to win these games. And there's a lot of opposition to that, saying Mourinho doesn't have the players. This is the worst team he's ever coached. Look at the skills that these guys have, and they're nowhere near what is really needed for Mourinho. I don't think it's black and white. I think that the situation is a bit more nuanced. There's a little bit more detail that goes into us. But this is the tweet that had me cracking up here from Marco. All Roma needed to beat Sassuolo was them to get a penalty, one of the wildest deflections imaginable, just as Roma drew it up on the whiteboard. That's gold. I am going to take a look at these comments now. Also, I'm going to play around with a couple of things here. Let's see if I can switch this around. And yeah, we got that. Oh yeah, look at this. We're going into the future now. Yeah, I got my background up. This is looking cool. Shout out to 24 Designs for Francisco for making this for me. He might be on the stream right now. If you need any light or illustrative work done, you can give him a ring. So let's start up here with Deer, who says, since the Genoa debacle, Roma has been 6-1-1 in the league. I think we should give the team a little bit of credit. Very nice. Dashi's here. He's going to be on the channel, I'm sure, pretty soon. He says, everybody pray up. Jesus himself was on Roma's side today. Yeah, with the first day of Advent. That's very fitting. Roma needed that. Diogo says, tough one. Lukaku looked a bit tired. Dybala, the light of the squad. And Osmoon, very good. I didn't know him, but he makes a difference. Yeah, so with Osmoon, he is a bit of a rare type of player, in my opinion. He's not a true center forward, like a guy who's going to just crash the box. He can do that. We remember his header a couple weeks ago where he gets Roma's comeback going. But to me, he has more footwork than a typical striker. If the ball comes to him, he can hold it up. He can get himself out of space, which is important, not just with his body and his physique, but with his moves, with his footwork, with his dribbling, and I think he's really talented. I don't know what happened with him in Germany. I'm pretty sure that he had a lot of injuries, which is how he ended up on Roma's lap, and Pinto was able to snag him. But to me, I really like what I see out of him. Like I said, though, today I listened on the radio, and I'm going to go back and watch this game in a little bit when I have some time today. Story of today, I'm listening to the radio. I have the stream prepared for 2 p.m. We get home, daughter takes a massive poop. I'm like, yeah, we got to get the show on the road here. But thankfully, my wife is a saint, and she's putting her to bed now. Diego says, Pellegrini, let him go. What do you guys think about Pellegrini stay? This is the captain we're talking about. So I think we need to approach this topic with a bit of respect and not cautiousness, but we can't be so brash. It can't be like, this is a player who's got to be kicked out of Roma immediately, get lost. He deserves that little bit of respect. But to me, Pellegrini is having a problem, which has lasted for pretty much 3 years at this point. So it's more of a problem. I think there's something more that I don't know about, whether that's fitness, he's run down, whether he's depressed, whether he's having a really serious issue finding the right spot in Mourinho, his setup, or the previous manager with Fonseca. So I don't know what the real issue is here, but I do know that Roma ultimately is a sports team, and athletes are paid big bucks to deliver, whether you're the captain or you are the substitute player who plays once every 5 weeks. Your job is always to perform. And of course, there's the human aspect of that, which we can't forget about. And many players are emotional. I'm an emotional player. I'll give you that example. I've struggled at times in my teams, and at times when my coaches have loved me, I've excelled. So I don't think it's a matter of that, though, because I do believe that Mourinho does love Pellegrini. However, with these performances, I have to think pragmatically, because my first love is Roma. It's not Mourinho. I don't make this channel just for people who love Mourinho. I appreciate them. I make it because I love Roma. Ultimately, that does come down to an issue of, is Roma's joint highest earner earning his keep, or is it hindering the squad? Because with that money, with the sale of Pellegrini, with his wages off the book, could there be more mobility with Roma's transfer market? And I have to say yes. I have to say that Lorenzo has done a good job over the years, but I don't believe that he's at the level of the Giallorossi right now. Until I see a string of matches and fitness where he can contribute and earn his $6.5 million after taxes, that's a different story. But look, guys, some of you have played your entire lives, and you know that you cannot have a bad string of runs, which extends over years at a time, and then expect to be a starter, expect to be a captain, expect to be the most valued player of an organization. That's ludicrous. And if Roma are serious about winning and titles and creating a dynasty and a project, whatever, then you need to go all in, and you can't make friends. Fun to me with football is what happens at the very end. It is a byproduct of success, of cohesiveness, of understanding, of chemistry, of becoming a family. Then when you win and winning becomes addictive and habitual for your club, that's when you have fun. Fun does not exist on the training ground in August or September or even May if you're not doing so well. So I do think that Roma has to make important decisions regarding him. And I haven't read the rest of the comments coming in yet regarding Lorenzo, but I'm interested to see what they say. I try to make my own opinions before I'm swayed by others because, I like to listen to others, and sometimes I do change my mind. But I think, to be candid, there needs to be an honest conversation in the room. Ragav is here. He says, I think it's the same problem with the coach versus Pele. I love Pele, and the coach stood by him for the entirety of last year. But now I know he has benched him and is looking for a reaction. Diogo says, Spina, let him go at the end of the season or even before. Playing for the starting 11 tells a lot about overall quality of the squad. I agree with you. There is no other reasonable option at left wing back. Zalewski hasn't taken that. And Christensen is a right-sided player. Salik is a right-sided player. There's El Shaarawy is more of a winger. He's somebody who you put on towards like the substitute effective guy off the bench, kind of like an excellent 12th player, but not a starter. Spinazzola, guys, I think when it comes time for me, another conversation here. This is a tough one. Spinazzola is a guy who led Italy to the Euro Championship in 2021. He's a guy who's done a solid job for La Lupa over the years. But when it comes time for the winter to January, I know that Diogo put in here that, the summer, if not sooner. I would say sooner. If you cannot contribute and you show a history of not being able to contribute, and Spinazzola is not getting any younger, he has an ACL tear now, there has to be a decision. And look, getting older stinks. I'm 33. I don't play like I used to. I don't have the engine like I used to. I used to be a demon, like a maniac of a player. I looked up to Rajan Nainggolan and, of course, Totti, but more like players who are just full intensity. I can't move. And you know what? It hurts. And sometimes you don't feel good. But teams, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because ultimately what is the best for the team is the most important thing. And Spinazzola and Zalewski are not guys who are able to get Roma into the fourth spot, I don't think. I think Roma's problems a lot have been on the wingbacks, not being able to contribute, not being athletic enough, not being dynamic. But like I said, getting older stinks. And I think it's time for Spinazzola to maybe look elsewhere, whether that's Major League Soccer or Saudi Arabia, whatever it is. Maybe it's, I don't know, Fiorentina, whatever, Bologna, something like that. Colin says, very important result today, but a lot of work still remains in building out the defense. Yeah, organization, man. No left back, as we're talking about that. Average center backs. How do you want to build the defense? Diogo replies. And Pirates Rock is here. Says, don't forget to like and all that for everyone. Yes, thank you. Throw in a like, throw in a subscription. This channel just keeps on growing, which is really cool. And also, what other things do you want to see? I know people want to see more conversations, more guests on the channel, and that's something I want to do as well. I do have a player who is part of Roma's youth setup who I want to get on here. I want to get a player she was just voted one of the best players in Iceland. She's a buddy of mine. So I'm looking forward to that. Ragaz, they should have scored before the red. And our friend here says, don't understand the hate towards Pellegrini. To me, it's not so much hate. It's not hate as it is Roma has to do what's best for the club. And once again, we have to look back at the numbers. We got to look back at that tied joint highest salary for the club. And that's not okay. It's not okay for me to have that as a typical, or a guy who's typically being on the bench, somebody who puts in so-so performances. When you're paid the most on your team, you're expected to give output, which is relative to what the club puts into you. Zion is here, says, very dynamic. Matt, who's a great guest of ours. Daye. Who else we got? Wayne, I was saying this for the 5th time. Indica needs to improve his positioning and alertness. All the goals happen next to him, and he is always ball watching. Spina must go to Saudi Arabia. One thing I just caught on is that we're still sharing Marco's tweet. Maybe we could pull something else up. You know what? Let's go to the standings for a second. I'll get back to the comments shortly. So we've got Roma provisionally into 4th spot there. 24 points, well, 5th spot, but tied for points with 24. Napoli are going to play. I'm expecting that Inter is going to beat them. And look at that, provisional Juventus in 1st. Allegri making the most of his absence in Europe with European football. Fiorentina won today. That was a good game. They beat the heck out of Salernitana. Bonaventura looked great. What is his name on the left? Not Sule. It's I gotta look at Fiorentina's squad real quick. This is a player I've watched for a while. His dad was a professional too. What is his name? Not Gonzalez, who I really like. I can't believe Maxime Lopez doesn't start for them either. Where is he? Some of you are like scratching. Sotil. Yeah, Ricardo Sotil played on the left wing. He had a good game. Icone looked fast, dynamic. He did pretty well. But Bonaventura, yeah, I thought he was like the man of the match in that game. But back to Roma here. I'm going to stop sharing. So tied on points for 4th place with Napoli. Possibility of, well, no, even if Napoli lose today, that wouldn't change that because of the head-to-head rule, I'm pretty sure. Naveen says, what a good win. Good to see you. Same, Naveen. Same to see you. Joining one of the streams. Very good. What do we got here from our friend? Bekwayin Kosi says it will be good for Inter to win by a 2-goal difference for Roma to taste top four to show them what's possible. If Roma get into top four, I do believe that they can keep it. I think the Friedkins will do everything that they can while being compliant with financial fair play in the January Mercato. Heads up, it's December 3rd. We're talking 4 weeks until Roma can really start to try and land these targets. I'm excited for that. I know that they're looking at Dyer from Tottenham, right? And a couple other players who are coming on the radar, guys who could shore up the defense. And I think that if Spinazzola and Chris Smalling are sold, you're going to see some mobility here. You're going to see some new guys brought in, some fresh faces, maybe even Marcos Leonardo. To me, that seems like a reach. I expect teams like Real Madrid and the next tier of clubs to get in for Marcos Leonardo at this point, but we could hope. Matt says another emotional thing to consider with Pellegrini. Would he rather be let go to another team or lose the captaincy and lose money? If I'm him, I think I'd rather leave. Yeah, if you were to strip him or remove the armband and then go on a smaller salary and for him to leave, maybe it takes off the pressure and he replies with more consistent performances, maybe. But I think I'm starting to get the vibes that even in his mid-20s, that Lorenzo has a long-term problem. And like I said, I don't know if it's psychological, if it's physical, if it's a combination, but it is concerning. And like Zion says here, Pellegrini has been on the decline ever since Dybala came back. Is he stepping on his toes? No, I think if you're a great player, you always shine, no matter what. That's a mentality thing. That's how you approach the game. Just because you have a player who's perhaps encroaching into your space a little bit, well, Dybala is a once-in-a-generation talent. He's only second to Lionel Messi when it comes to starting for Argentina. So it then becomes Lorenzo's job to figure out how to keep on playing his game. And he hasn't shown up. He hasn't been able to do that. Ioannis comes in here. He says, "Hey, Wayne, hope you're good. Really happy about the win, but this win doesn't go without its criticisms. We have a lot of trouble clicking the midfield with the attack. Mourinho's subs saved us." Yeah, like Christensen, right? Comes on at the end. And it shouldn't hide the fact that Roma has serious weaknesses, organizational ones. And it's been pointed out with like Indica, many of the goals have been coming from his side. Spinazzola, as we see, like not quality. Can Roma make the jump? Can they solve things without adding quality players? I don't know. This is such a job for Mourinho. But I do feel like the team could play a little bit better, whether that's the manager tweaking things around a little bit, the players taking on that responsibility themselves. Look, Mourinho can't play, but at the same time, you are the boss. You are paid many, many millions to figure these things out. So as much as there's these Mourinhoistas and people who consistently defend Mourinho to the grave, and these people who don't like him, I think it's a little bit of both. And that's not going to please anybody, I think, for them to hear me say that. Dashi says, "I respect Pele. He's a very elegant player, but that elegance shows around every once in 50 matches. He has bad form been going on since after a few good weeks when Jose came. Unacceptable. Unacceptable for a captain, for a player who's getting paid top salary in his club." Swing King says, "Roma want to be the best club. When they need to, then they need to renew Jose. Keep Pele, who gave his body for the club." Kodka says, "Jose is the guy, guys. Equal in points with Napoli, and they play Inter today. If they lose with more than 2 goals, Roma goes to fourth." Is that true? Is it just based on goal differential? I wasn't aware of that. I thought that the head-to-head played into it. Kaka says, "Let's go." Rakov says, "That's mean. We won the conference and should have won Europa with Pele at the heart. This is just a reaction what the coach wants. Things will be sorted as he wears his heart out at his..." So, yeah, it's a good point. Like, he's always committed himself for Roma. He was somebody who was significant in Roma's title push for the Conference League. Was he fundamental? Would Roma have won it without him? I don't want to be mean there either, but throughout the course of a season, you are expected to deliver, if not almost every single match. And that's not something Pellegrini is showing for us. Okay, can Roma sell Belotti and Smalling to open space for buying a defender that they can include in the Europa team? Asmoon a better fit for Roma than Belotti? This is interesting. And I feel kind of bad for Belotti because he has scored against us in nine goals in his last 14 against them. So coming into this, I felt that Belotti was definitely going to get some time. And does he make a big difference? Doesn't get in. At that point, you're like, what's Belotti's future with the club? Because he started the season off super strong. He looked great. But the reason why he's not continuing is because the others have been better in practice. And also, like it's pointed out here, Osmoon offers something a little bit different. Enzo, what's up, my man? What a win. Yes, yes, yes. And Katz says, yeah, because we haven't played with Napoli yet, so goal differential. Okay, Napoli or Inter, what's better for Roma? Inter. Look, Inter is a much better team than Roma, in my opinion. I think they're just a next level up. They got to the Champions League final last year. Their DNA is a little bit different in the sense that these players know what it takes. I don't think there's much of a coaching difference. Inzaghi is a manager who needs to be respected. He's good. He's quality. But that Inter, I think Inter are the team of the Scudetto. Like they're going to go on and take it. For me, it's better that, in my opinion, that Inter go on to win this, that Napoli lose a little bit of traction. Ed says, I wouldn't mind seeing more of that 3-4-3 against mid to low table. My man, thank you. I appreciate that. So keep the comments coming in, likes and all that. You guys know what to do. You don't need me to remind you. So thank you. Tomorrow, we'll be doing the press conference. That's going to be a Monday thing. But I'm just looking around Twitter and seeing if there's anything I really want to share. But I really, you got to go and check out that clip of Mancini just completely bodying, who was it there? Laudiente. That's a good one. Geez, guys. Dybala. I'm just reading some tweets like from Enzo on Twitter here. I'm watching the final goal now. Okay. Oh my gosh. That's the goal that Roma won off of? I'm shocked. Talk about luck. Holy cow. Like I said, if you weren't here in the beginning, I listened to this on the radio. I had no idea that ball from Christensen went up and around off a deflection. But I guess it's just as well because Sassuolo scored off of a Berardi deflection, right? I also heard that Berardi had a vicious tackle against El Shaarawy, so we could probably presume that he's never going to be joining Roma at this point. Practice is a good January, and Roma will be there in the Champions League. And Graf says, let's make it a happier podcast. The win was great, and I'm not sure if the deflection, if Roma would have scored. Like, yeah, I just watched that for the first time. I was saying, like, that is crazy for Roma to win off that, man. Oy. Anyway, I'm going to keep looking around here on Twitter, but yeah, we're going to get those Mourinho quotes in here. By the way, I'm going to have it all translated on Twitter. That's going to be up for grabs if you want to go and check that out. And I'll be, probably doing like 3 or the top 5 comments from the match tomorrow, because otherwise I don't expect people to commit like an hour and a half to hang out with me here. So that's it. Guys, anything else we need to look at before we leave? Yeah, you know what? Let's just look at other score lines around Serie A. I'm going to pull this up. I'm also going to try to play around with my little background that Francisco has made for me, 24 Designs. Let's see. Present. Here we go. I'm going to take this. There we go. Okay. All right, back. Bear with me. Like I said, I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Got my little background back there. No, bring it back. There we go. Cool. Okay. So from the top there, we've got Monza losing to Juventus, Genoa tying Empoli. So Rabiot and Gatti at the very end. Well, actually, Monza scored 90+1 and Gatti wins it. Gatti his 4th goal for Juventus after infamously becoming a bricklayer or whatever, his story, which is like making the rounds now on social media. Serie D bricklayer to scoring for Juventus. Anyway, Genoa Empoli. Let's see who scored here. Malinovsky scored his 2nd goal in as many games, and Cancellieri scored as well. That was a good goal by Cancellieri, former Roma youth product. Him getting into the box, making those surging runs. What else? Lazio beat Cagliari yesterday. Claudio Ranieri, man, it's not going too good for him. Milan take care of Frosinone. Milan, who are battered with injuries. So that is actually, in context, that is a good win for them because Frosinone will put up a fight. Lecce draw with Bologna. We're going to check out who scored for them. Fiorentina over Salernitana. Udinese 3-3 with Verona. And, of course, Roma's win. But, yeah, let's look at this real quick. Lecce, I wonder if it's the Remy. Udine again. He's been doing good. No, it's Roberto Piccoli. A 90 plus 10 off of a penalty. Wow. Big stuff there. I like Lecce this year. I like the way they play. Roberto D'Aversa is doing a good job. He has them playing without fear. Strefezza has been his man. I'm just curious. Yeah, Udine, the number 10. Strefezza out on the wing. Kristovic. Who else? Baschirotto and Falcone. So they've got a nice, cool little squad there. For Bologna, Salamakers, Ferguson, he's decent. But I don't know. Thiago Motta does wonders with this like hodgepodge squad. Posh is very good. I think he's Austrian. He's a good center back. Scores a bunch of goals left-footed. So, all right, we'll check out our last game here. That 3-3 intrigued me. Udinese Verona. Lorenzo Luca, the tall forward, I believe he's from Pisa, scores 2. He was supposed to go to Sassuolo a few years ago when they sold Scamacca. Duric there for Verona and Gonge, and Thomas Henry, or is it Henri? Maybe he's French. But Ngonge had a good goal, I'm pretty sure. I remember someone mentioning that or not. Okay, we'll check out the last comments here. No spoilers if you have not seen the game. And let's give, yes, excellent end comment here. Let's give Christensen his flowers for sure. Shows the right attitude now, yeah? You know, comes in as a sub, doesn't get much playing time. Mourinho believes in him, instills that faith in his players, and ultimately it comes up with a Roma victory, which puts them neck and neck with Napoli on points. Maybe they get to 4th spot at the end of the season. Maybe they make a run in the Europa League, but now it looks like they're going to get the 2nd spot. They'll face a team from the Champions League. Oh, God. Last comments here. Big 3 points, huge game for Roma. If we beat Sassuolo at the Olimpico, that will be a 6-point swing from last season on the up. And Uche, Wayne, we finally win in Mappe after 5 years. Good point. Roma has not won too many games. I think one or two in their last 10 away matches. So they defied the odds here. Guys, see you tomorrow. Thank you.